Hello, John. Today we're going to talk about George Soros, abortion, and the recent ruling by the Oireachtas Committee on the 8th Amendment, which just was published this morning. First of all, we're going to talk about George Soros, and I just want to give people an idea of who he is, his background. He was born in Hungary. He's a hedge fund manager. He's a friend of Bono. He's invested in Aircom and Facebook. He was opposed to the Troika, and he funds groups that are in support of the 8th Amendment, which is what we're going to talk about in a few minutes. He gave the Irish Family Planning Association €127,000 and Amnesty €137,000. Mark Cuban, an American businessman, described what a hedge fund manager is. The number one job of the hedge fund manager is not to make sure that you can retire with a smile on your face. It's for him to retire with a smile on his face. Over to you, John Malone. Let's talk about George Soros.
Yes, George Soros' name has cropped up in a very interfering way throughout Europe and the world. He's a billionaire, and his money is being used in a system called the Open Society, which sounds like a reasonable proposition. Open society. These people that are opposed to the Catholic and Christian civilization that underpinned democracy in Europe and had a major influence in the law and all the rest of it, and the peace and prosperity in Europe had a major influence. George Soros seeks to destroy that. As you say, he was born in Hungary. Well, Hungary up to not that long ago, in I think this century or maybe late last century, were under the communist system. And he might have absorbed some of the negative qualities of that dreadful system, which of course was virulently anti-Catholic and anti-Christian, destroying churches and imprisoning and executing priests and nuns and anybody, a lay person that supported the Catholic and Christian ethos. So he comes from that communist background. Okay, he made his money in the USA, and instead of using it to promote the Catholic and Christian identity of the like of Hungary, where he come from, and various other European countries where it's very prevalent. Now, George Soros has been a very bad influence in the world. He has, as you say, given money to the Irish Family Planning Association and also to Amnesty International. The procedure and standards in Dáil Éireann has advised Amnesty International to leave Europe, to leave George Soros and company. Amnesty International has been ordered to return the money that were given by George Soros. They have refused to do so, even though they were ordered to give that money back. The Irish Family Planning Association, which seems a reasonable proposition, but of course they're pro-abortion, not pro-life. They dress it up in various languages like women's freedom and this, that and the other, misnomers for abortion. Now, so this is George Soros. Nigel Farage, the leader of the United Kingdom Independence Party and a major voice in the European Parliament, has spoken about George Soros and the influence and the bad influence that he has in the political situation in various Western countries, even in Britain. So he's coming under scrutiny now, but he has done a lot of harm up to now. Okay,
and we're going to move on to the 1983 referendum, the Citizens' Assembly, the Oireachtas Committee on Abortion, and Caitlin's Poem. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, well, this is the dreadful thing about disrespect for democracy. There was already a referendum to protect the life of the mother and child in 1983, which is not that long ago, and it was passed by a large majority, practically 2-1, against anything to do with abortion or the termination of life in the womb. So this effort by the government and the opposition, including Fianna Fáil, I regret to say, are all conspiring for some reason or another to not respect the democratic wish of people.
Yeah.
And to support the introduction of abortion up to 12 weeks of pregnancy of a child. Now this is dreadful and has to be resisted at all times. For example, as you say, the Citizens' Assembly, the Oireachtas Committee on Abortion and Catherine Zappone, the Minister for Children, a complete misnomer. They're muddying the waters even at the moment. She was on the television news there last night, on the 6 o'clock news, talking about the situation as regards to chewing babies and all the rest of it. And it's up to the relatives. Very concerned to respect the relatives. There's been a book written by Elizabeth Prunty, which I spoke about recently, who has examined the situation and regards the falsehoods that's been produced about Tuam and the various other places as dreadful and inaccurate. But to persist, there's Catherine Zappone, the Minister, a Canadian-born person. Does she ever check her facts about these matters? After all, isn't that what a minister should do? And a Minister for Children should be pro-life and respect the Constitution and respect the 1983 referendum. Where are they coming from? Where's these members of Dáil Éireann? Who are they representing? Why are they so anti-life? Why are they so anti the matters, things that count, the protection of citizens as regards the lack of police presence in their towns and villages, the destruction of the towns and villages, the promotion of foreign supermarket groups and discount stores to the detriment of local businesses and all the rest of it, with the support of councillors? You wonder, who are they supporting?
The Oireachtas Committee on the 8th Amendment is expected to vote in favour of allowing unrestricted access to abortion up to 12 weeks, as members believe that inserting clauses to allow for terminations in cases of rape and incest would be unworkable. That was in this morning's Irish Independent.
Right. They've already introduced abortion in the former infamous Fine Gael Labour government that closed the Irish Embassy to the Vatican under Mr. Gilmore, the Foreign Minister at that time. These people have foisted the same-sex marriage referendum on the people without a debate, confused the people. So when they got away with that now, that they feel emboldened to bring on this abortion without any proper debate. The Oireachtas Committee was loaded in favour of this dreadful termination of life. Do they have any Christian or Catholic identity, or what is wrong with them that they cannot respect the referendum already took place, and now they want to try kind of hoodwink the people once again, and they have to be resisted? They're not representing the Irish people and the Catholics and Christians and perhaps Muslims in this country now, and believe we have 50 or 60,000 Muslims, and I don't think they're in favour of abortion because they have large families.
One thing they said this morning in the Irish Independent was, the widespread and unregulated use of abortion pills is another reason why members will support unrestricted access. Surely that's a failure of the government to be able to regulate. They can't do their job. Of
course it is, and of course these morning after pills, or whatever they call them, which is an abortion, which is abortion in a different way, they should be illegal, because the amendment date, the referendum result of 1983, resulted in the protection of the mother and child. If people now can go to chemist shops and get these pills that prevent abortion, or that prevent birth or natural birth from conception to natural birth, if they can do that well then that means to me that they can do whatever the bloody well like. That the law is not being enforced. We did a program there, a video there about Katie Ascock, Ascoff, the president of the UCD Students' Union, who was ousted by the pro-abortion lobby students in that institution. A minority, I would say, of the students, but a very active, ignorant body, not respecting the wishes of the majority of people. Katie Ascoff was elected democratically, but this crowd was against her from the very beginning. So this is the sort of these people that are pro-abortion seem to hog the airwaves. Their numbers are small, but their influence is great.
So, John Malone of the Christian on Jobs Action Party, where do you stand in the area of, say, gestation, viability, termination? For example, in rape or incest, where does John Malone fit into his views?
Right. You see, this is where it's going to try and confuse people. People have naturally an abhorrence of anything to do with rape or incest. But the fact is, if there is a child conceived because of those, why should the child suffer? It's a separate matter. There's a child involved here. That child deserves to be born in some ways. And people that have endured this rape business have spoken out and of course have been silenced by the pro-abortion, pro-choice lobby from speaking, although they did speak outside these hotels recently. Now, they distinguish between the life of the child and the dreadful thing that happened to them. So why should the child suffer? So that is the sort of Christian and kind of, what would I call it, respecting life as distinguished from the event. The person that would have caused that probably could be charged and jailed, but the child that has resulted should not be also destroyed. So that is the sort of concentration of the media and the pro-abortion crowd, to try and concentrate on that to the detriment of the life of the unborn child.
So don't punish the baby is what you're saying?
Well, this is self-evident. You protect life. You don't look for excuses to terminate life. That is the road that this ignoramus of TDs and senators, or wherever it is that voted for them, some decent individuals, the like of Ronan Mullen and Matty McGrath and other decent people, have supported the pro-life cause. Ronan Mullen, a senator, an independent senator in the Senate in the Dáil, or in Dáil in the Senate, has spoken there yesterday only in the local radio, Loudmead LM radio, and he spoke eloquently about it, and kind of can't understand why this anxiety to be anti-life and dressing it up in fancy words as they did with the marriage referendum and the calling it equality, when it was quite the reverse of that.
Thank you very much, John. Wise words as usual.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.